Hello there. You know, it's strange. I've been looking at all this stuff that's been on the news, it's been in the computer, and these videos. It's been showing up everywhere, listening to all kinds of talk. And the one thing that has struck me strange is I haven't seen any people much that I thought were real people. I don't mean that they're computer generated or anything. I just mean in my lifetime, all 3/4 of a century, I have known a lot of people. And they're real people. They're people, husband and a wife, struggling to raise 2 or 3 kids. They'll have one that goes off and causes problems and stuff. You know, all this kind of thing. They're worried about paying the bills. They don't get the new toys. It used to be TVs when I was a little kid. Then it turned to color TVs. Then it wound up being into them Atari game things. And, well, I guess that was the early 80s. Somewhere back there, the end of the 70s. Then it got to be in computers. Got to be them Commodores. And it got to be them other ones that came out. And then it went up from 64, the old Commodore 64, I think it was. And I went up there, got up to 256, and it kept climbing. Then it came out with these, you got into the 80s, and they came in the late 80s, they came out with these cell phones that was like carrying a brick around, you know. They was about the size and about as heavy as a brick. And everything's just gone since then. Well, there's a lot of people, they don't get that stuff right off. They can't afford it. They aren't going to go into debt for it. They, maybe every 10 years, they go out and buy a car, trade in the old one, buy a new one. This kind of stuff. And I don't see too many of them and all this news and all this noise and all this other crap that's going on. And color and sex and nothing else got anything to do with that kind of stuff. I've had a lot of friends that were fruit flies. I mean, they were really weird. And then I had some that were just quietly homosexual, men and women. I can sympathize with all thorns alive because, well, for one thing, I'm a religious feller down at the bones. And that Bible thing, it says that the Father gave all judgment into the hands of the Son. Well, and another place it says, judge not that you be not judged. Okay, I don't judge people, except by whether I'd like to associate with them or not. I don't judge them for what they do. I got a bone to pick with all them fanatical Christians that think that Jesus Christ feller is some kind of a nut that ain't got the smarts to do his own job, so they got to do it for him. No, them people that go out there and they shoot them abortion doctors and they do all that kind of stuff. I got no use for them people. And I got no use for them on the other side that's always got to be in the face of them people that believe in Christ and such. I don't know too much about that Olive feller, but I do know there's only one God, so he's probably the same one, they just got a different idea about it. And there are people, I've heard people talk about the pagans and about the Wiccans and about them fellers down there out in the Caribbean and some of them in Florida and that chopped heads off chickens and things like that. They believe in spirits, and a lot of them believe in Jesus Christ. They just got a different way of going about it. Now, it's all going to come out in the wash, but I got no right to judge anybody for what they do unless they hurt people. And that's all I see going on is people hurting people. All of them politicians, they're just hurting people. And I listen to one. He says, this guy I'm running against, or this gal I'm running against, she's lying. This is her lies. And then she comes back and her people says, now that feller's lying. He's a dirty liar. He's doing all these kind of things. Now, I happen to live in Arizona, and I just read a thing not too long ago about that supposed to throw a monkey wrench in the works if that Mark Kelly that's leading, because he's a Democrat, wins the election against that lady Air Force pilot type. McSally, something like that. Well, I could care less. Actually, I'd vote for her because I've watched that Mark Kelly, and he kind of sends shivers up and down my spine to listen to him talk. But anyway, it don't make no difference to me who you vote for or who somebody else votes for. I don't know for sure who I'll vote for, but I do know people are blaming Trump for acting like a fascist. Well, you know what? If you go back and you start reading the history of this country, from before the Civil War on up through, and they go through that what they call the Progressive Era and the Golden Era that was after the Progressive War. It was supposed to be after that Reconstruction period that ended in about 1877, something like that. Well, you go back and you look at what them fellers that built the Transcontinental Railroad did and what the government did for them and everything. You get to look at an election in 1912, 1913, when them Democrats all got elected and took over everything. And then you look at that Woodrow Wilson that got elected in that 1912 and the progressive stuff he did and his activist foreign policy and how he got us into World War I and how we got the Federal Reserve Act. And then you get up into 1933 with that FDR and how he redid the Federal Reserve Act and how he collected all the gold that everybody was supposed to be hoarding and stuff. Yeah, you get to look, and fascism was in play a long time before Trump ever thought of running for office. Fact is, I'll bet it was in play before he was born, because that Woodrow Wilson, he acted an awful lot like some of them guys that was in them fascist regimes. Oh well, that's neither here nor there. You go read it, you go study, you find out for yourself, because that democratic socialism that we got, back there ruling the government and everything now, if you look real close, it's a suede glove slavery. Yeah, go look, see. You're worried about your retirement, you're worried about your 401k, you're worried about your bank account, you're worried about your portfolio. Oh, that government, all these trillions of dollars they're pouring into this stuff for this COVID-19 and everything. They're looking to do things with that. But anyhow, I got off track with what I was going to say to begin with. But in all that, you don't see too many of these real people that are living trying to raise some kids, trying to educate them, trying to teach them right, trying to take them to some church, one or another kind, trying to teach them to be Catholic or Presbyterian or Baptist or Mormon or believing in Santeria. I think that them's the guys I heard, they believe in Jesus Christ. You get a look at all this stuff. Now them Wiccans, they believe in spirits. Everything's got a spirit, I think. Pagans believe that everything's got a spirit. Well now, gee, that sounds like something come out of that Judeo-Christian stuff too. So I got no right to judge. People, as long as they're good to each other, as long as they treat each other right, and like them guys that Will and Ted back there in them goofy movies they made back there with George Carlin, how at the end of them they says something, be excellent to each other. That's what we're supposed to be doing instead of listening to all these people that want to tell us what to do. Tell us when to use the bathroom. Tell us when to go to the grocery store. Tell us when we can take our mask off so that we can smile and humanize ourselves. You know, that's one thing. All them masks I watch as I walk around, you can't see anybody's face. You don't know whether they're smiling, whether they're frowning. You don't know what's on their mind. They're dehumanizing us. They're keeping us apart. They don't want us to socialize and associate. How come? What they afraid we gonna find out, or what they afraid we're really gonna do? I don't think it's they're afraid we're all gonna get sick and die on them. I don't think any of them politicians really care what happened to us regular folk, because they'll still be left with their golden parachutes and all that kind of stuff. You think about it. I'll be back another time. Goodbye.